All right, and we are live. So, welcome to another episode of AI marketing for remodelers and builders. If you don't know us, my name is Kai, and I'm our lead consultant, everything strategy in AI. And this is Spencer, our CEO and founder. We've got a fun video episode today, all about getting started with ChatGPT. So, if your New Year's resolution is to use AI, don't say tomorrow. Make sure you grab a laptop, go along with us because this is a video episode, so you can follow along, do some of the use cases with us, play around with your settings. This will be a great time. It'll be a fun episode. I think we're just going to get right into it, Spencer. Alrighty. So this is what you've been hearing about. If you haven't seen ChatGPT before, this is the big bad ChatGPT. It's not big and bad. It's just a search bar. But this is essentially I forget the saying, Spencer, like the world at your fingertips or whatever. There's so much you can do just from this one little search bar. But I think first, Spencer, let's just talk about to keep the listeners engaged here and actually like want them to do this. We'll say like what ChatGPT is for contractors and what it isn't. So think of this as like your assistant, intern, executive assistant, but they're great at just being your helper. And that means like drafting certain things, writing certain things, great for like ideas, brainstorming, organizing, data analysis, one of our favorites, Spencer. And just like overall just helping you keep moving. But it's not a substitute for, please do not use this for legal advice or following code compliance. And also, it doesn't know your brand better than you. So you want to make sure that you're feeding it the information that's unique to you, specific to you, or else if you just say write an email, it's not going to be a great email. But yeah, I'm super excited for this one, Spencer. I think the video is going to help when we're like walking through it more and when people are following along. I'm thinking like we should just start off with like, let's just show them like a simple chat, showing off chat history, things like that. But yeah, I think, yeah, let's just start off with that. There's so many ideas I have, Spencer, so you gotta tell me keep on track here. But we're gonna
I'll
start
steer
off with
you.
just
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, you can go in 100 different directions. So we'll start here, and I'll rein you in when you start going off.
Thank you. So, um, really, what we're gonna start off here is just an example search. So we're just gonna search off like for example, like who are the best remodelers in my area. And so you can use it as almost like a Google search. You could use it as an assistant. But we see here it's pretty simple, right? It's almost like Google, Spencer. We've kind of talked about that a little bit. But it's that simple. It's just you can type in something. It has cool extensions like maps. You can look at the sources. And this is our personal ChatGPT account here. But then you can have all of your chats here. So yours would not be as full as this one, but then you access your chats here. So when you think about, when you get into AI, people are probably going to say, you need to, really know prompting like that and all of this. Spencer, I want you to give your opinion because they all know I'm like deep into AI and they may not believe me, but is prompting really that important? Or can people just get started with AI without having to know all of this like super specific prompt structure?
You can definitely just get started, and yeah, I think knowing a couple little basics around prompting can help you, get to where you want a little bit faster. But to be honest, I think most of our viewers, listeners are business owners. And if you're used to managing people, making requests, like having delegating, a lot of the prompt will actually, I found, come pretty naturally to you because you learn to ask something and give context. So, you just did this simple search, right? Like, who are the best remodelers in my area? But if you were asking, like, hey, I have an office manager and assistant here that I'm going to go, like, hey, can you go do some research and find the best remodelers in my area? You would probably add a little bit more context and like, oh, I'm kind of looking for someone that can do this type of project, that maybe has this kind of experience, that maybe, et cetera, right? And so I think, yeah, business owners are like ready to just jump right in, and it's like, do your prompt and give context like you were working with a team member or something like that.
Yep, 1000%. We can even test that out here, and we can say, hey, as a follow-up question, my price range is 200K. And so just that little extra, that little like extra information here can help narrow it down. And we talked about in one of our episodes previously about how it like pulled like different like pricing guides and cost guides and pricing blogs, things like that. So I think here, since I didn't use like the thinking version, um don't know. Oh, so it saw that I was using a full or a larger model. So like that's how it kind of made sure that those people, could probably do like an addition or some larger project there. So pretty cool here. This map might be newer as well. So
Yeah,
super quick way
I
to
mean, that
show
it's looks pretty similar to a Google Map
Google
result,
Map.
but
Yeah.
yeah, it's a little different. It's got the star rating on the map, and yeah, that's interesting.
I actually
Link to
called
the
them straight
website
from
and
here
call.
too. Yeah.
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 We just had a ChatGPT lead come in for us, and now it's like hyperlinking it right in there too. So this stuff it's evolving quickly.
There, yeah. It's like that's like a search example. But even just going here and saying, right, social copy for me. Here is my website. And we'll just say builder funnel. Then again, you want to be more specific here, but just to show you some of the different abilities, um, we can see here. And I don't even. Oh yeah, it did. It did. It didn't even show me that it searched the web, but it definitely did. And also probably just knows some from its memories as well. But we definitely see some copy like ready to go here. So you can go from a search. You can go from like working on like tasks. I'm having like trouble like articulating like how cool that is, but that's why people really love like AI, because it's kind of like that mix between, how we use Google, how we use spreadsheets, how we use Word docs, and it's kind of like an all-in-one platform. Um and so I think like that's like the one of the biggest things that's like an aha moment for some people, Spencer, is like it's like, oh, okay, like this isn't just like a chat bot I talk to. Like this could basically almost be like my operating system, which we've talked about in a couple episodes.
Yeah, I think you used the word helper earlier, and I thought that was actually a pretty good word because it's fairly all encompassing and it's like, yeah, it can help me do research, but it can help me draft something and get it from like 0 to 80%, and then I'll take it the rest of the way. It can help me think through a problem. It can help me present present me with 5 solutions. It can, like that help term that you kind of used, I think does apply across all those. And so it is kind of a mixture of assistant, helper, research, drafter, but then also it can, kind of be your, like we've talked about, thought partner for like consulting, thinking, like working through stuff. So it becomes kind of an extension of your brain, and the internet and, a lot of other people's brain.
Yeah, it's just a conglomeration. Big word for me. Conglomeration of everything. I think I'm saying that right. Hopefully, somebody can email me if I didn't. But the
You're just
last thing
trying to
you
get more
really want to.
emails, Kai. You're just trying to get more emails.
Hey,
You're like, I'm
I
gonna say a
love.
word wrong, so they'll email me.
I think you caught me. All right, I love my emails. Last thing we're gonna go over here of just like the core like UI is just gonna be looking at I do want to give like a just really really quick like prompting basics, and so something you can follow like a light framework is just context, goal, constraints, examples. So let's say you're running a Google ad and you want to really create you want to get like a keyword list that you can target. So let's say I'm Kai Builders and I want to do a kitchen remodeling campaign. So I would say I'm Kai Builders. I'm doing a kitchen remodeling campaign. And if I spell anything wrong, I never fix it. So I'm not going to fix it on the show either. So I'm just going to let it go. But I'm doing a kitchen remodeling campaign on Google. Okay. So out of our context, goal, constraints, and examples, well, what is this, Spencer? I'm going to quiz you real quick. Out of those
Context.
four,
Yeah.
perfect. Thank you. So we gave a context here. Now, what's our goal? Let's say my goal is to have a tight keyword targeted list.
That's
So
interesting.
that's
So you're starting with the list. I would my mind went to like, my goal is to generate 10 leads a month or 20 leads a month, but I see where you're
So
going too. Yeah.
this is where like being specific helps, because like my thought process was, well, if I do, if I want 10 to 20 leads a month, that's like where we would probably have a step before this where we're actually drafting out the campaign itself. This is like specific to keywords, but you were on the right track. Like as far as like an overall goal, you want to do leads or website visits, something like that. And then what are some of my constraints here? Let's say we can only target 5 keywords. An example would be, we like keywords like kitchen remodel near me. And I'll also say I'm in Phoenix, but only serve the North Phoenix Valley. We'll say East because that's more realistic. So that's like a very basic, like, you don't have to have crazy prompts that you see that are paragraphs long, but if you follow context, goal, constraints, you're good to go.
I just want to
This,
highlight a piece here earlier to connect it kind of back where we were talking about prompts. And I said, hey, if you were having an assistant or a team member help you with this project, the interesting thing about this is you're adding context that maybe you would assume your team member already knows that you're in Phoenix, you want to target
mm-hmm.
the East, it's better to not assume, but also definitely when you're typing it in here, like adding all that context that is in your brain or your company DNA that you kind of already know about, and you're highlighting that here in the chat.
Yep. We'll get into how you can avoid having to basically tell it all of this information in every prompt. But just for now, we'll show this off. And then just for time's sake here, I do want to show off the different models and we'll talk about them, but there's basically 4 different models: auto, instant, which you're going to get answers right away; thinking, which thinks a little bit longer and more logically; and then pro, which is like research, like probably takes 15 minutes to get an answer. Thinking can take anywhere from like 2 to 5, and then instant's pretty fast. Auto decides based on the prompt what to choose. For time's sake here, we're just going to choose instant just so we can keep it moving. But no, for something like this, as far as like what model to pick for ChatGPT, anything where you feel like it's not it's open ended, or you have to think a little bit more, there's like multiple steps, definitely go thinking. Anything that's like a quick ask, like a spell check, or writing out like a super quick reply email, or something with a close ended question, you could definitely do instant. You should never need to use pro. um, Pro is if you're doing some very, very deep research, and to be honest, with my testing, I haven't seen a difference. But we see here, it gives us a little bit of reason, tells us our core strategy, and says which keywords to target here, which, again, not shocking for this example. But we would want to probably do something here. It also gives us some like good like location settings, which is great. This is where you keep going deeper, right? We would like say, like, I want 30 words, or I don't want to target kitchen remodeling contractors because I'm doing something broad. You can go a whole lot of directions with this, but this could give you a good idea of what keywords to use and why to start.
Yeah, very simple. This is kind of what we would expect, right? You only said 5 keywords, so it's going to hit the main
Yes.
ones. But even still, you can already start to see like, hey, these are little areas or towns that, I've done a little bit of research on, and yeah, it's expanded on what the original request was by a little bit.
Yeah, it did for sure. Keyword you should not use. More like match type recommendations, which is interesting. Which some of the stuff is a little bit outdated because phrase is the new broad, so we just use broad. But this is where you have to pair your knowledge with the AIs as well. So those are just 2 quick examples here of showing how to use it for search as well as using it for a task. Now we're gonna back up a little bit here and go to the settings. So you gotta have an idea of like how to get started. But what you want to do is you want to go into the bottom left here, and if you click on your little picture here and you go to settings, I'll give you the very quick rundown. You'll probably only be touching general, personalization, apps, and maybe schedules. You probably won't need to touch anything else. General's pretty simple, light and dark mode, as well as your accent color, which I wish they had that builder funnel green, Spencer, but they don't. So
I'm
we just do
thinking
the light green.
they'll do custom soon. We just gotta be patient,
They honestly, I feel like that should have been in this update,
That
but
seems like an
you
easy one to throw in as custom, but yeah.
easily.
Well,
But you could change your colors pretty easily here, your spoken language. If you do voice mode, you could change like the voice here. And then for personalization, this is where Spencer, when we were just talking about like how to not have to give like all of this information on every prompt. This is how you do it. And this is something newer. So Spencer and I haven't really played around with this too much because our ChatGPTs are pretty tuned to us. But for you, if this is like if you rarely use it, or this is one of the first times you're using it, playing around with the different like style and tone that it talks to you in, this is a great way to like kind of help it like talk to you in the way that you want. You can have different characteristics. Does it use like what does it format in? Does it use emojis? You can even do custom instructions. Like for some reason, it likes to mix UK and US spelling in the same paragraph, which is super annoying. So I tell it not to do that. Um, Spencer, do you do like anything in like the like about you, or have you played around with this at all?
yeah, and I think as you were pulling this up, some of this is newer, and I didn't see it the first time I went through it. I have ChatGPT call me Batman because I think that's fun,
That's
and
pretty
then
sick. That's pretty
it
sick.
is actually funny because I just threw that in there because I'm like, oh, that's fun, but then it will say like in its little intros or outros, it'll include more than just the name. It'll say like hey, Batman, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But then it'll give me something like very Dark Knight-esque, this task, or, it'll relate the task to something, tied in with it, which I don't know. It just makes it a more enjoyable experience, I think.
Gotta have some fun with it. Maybe I need mine to call me a cool name
It'll
or
give me the
something.
little bat emoji too every once in a while, so
Oh, that's
it's
pretty
fun.
sweet.
Yeah.
That's pretty sweet. But you can add your nickname. You can even add your occupation if you want, and you can add just more about you in general. So tons here too with memories. Just have this all toggled on. You want to have your memories on and your chat history on, so that way you can say, "Hey, we talked about this in a couple chats ago. Can you look at that?" Or can you reference your memories? It'll save certain things about you in certain chats that you can reference in all chats. Um, Tons of stuff there. This is the pro account here. I'm assuming you're not going to have a pro account off the bat. That one's $200 a month. If you do, congrats to you, big baller. It's definitely worth it. But you could there's some extra settings here if you have that. You'll probably getting like the $20 a month one to start, or even just using it for free to start, which is completely fine. There's plenty of usage there. I think the last setting we're gonna look at here is the apps, and we'll probably do a whole separate episode on this. But this is talking more about integrations. They're called MCPs in the AI land, but essentially they're integrations or connectors. And so you can look here, and you can start looking around at your current. They just updated this like from yesterday, which is insane. It used to just be a list right there, Spencer, but you
Yeah.
can look here and see all the different apps that they have ready to go for you. So if there's anything that you use that's already in your tech stack, like Google Drive, if you use Google Drive, connect that to your ChatGPT. If you use HubSpot, connect that to your ChatGPT. What this lets you do is you can ask ChatGPT to pull certain files or pull certain information from these integrations and reference those in chats without having to send screenshots or different different files in general.
Yeah, I've seen it like Spotify, Canva, man, this list is really building out quickly. Yeah, Spotify does their wrapped, and I was like, oh, you could now customize your wrap. Be like,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like my wrap. Can you change it up or whatever? But
We talked about raps. They did a ChatGPT rap as well. It was okay. It wasn't that great, but it was funny.
yeah, maybe next year they'll figure it out. Zillow,
But
yeah, interesting.
yeah, it's
Good
very
research in there. Yeah.
tons. There's also some custom ones that you can if you feel like customizing some things a little bit more. Like we have like Ahrefs, so we use for keyword research. We have that connected in here. It helps us do keyword research, things like that. But connectors integrations are awesome. Probably need a whole episode for that, and probably something that might overwhelm you to start. So we're just gonna gloss over those. But if you're feeling brave, definitely go in there and check those out. The last one I do want to look at is schedules here. And we might have talked about this once, but you could set up ChatGPT to run certain tasks by itself. So the best example I can give is say, hey, every week Monday at 8 a.m., send me the top 5 headlines in marketing AI related to remodeling and custom home building, or whichever one that you're in. And then every, Monday it will boot up itself and it will just run that and it will give you those headlines. Great way to kind of stay up to date with things. I use it for some marketing news. And it's, kind of like a curated email for you almost, which is a cool like use case for it.
Yeah, and I think what I like about that too is sometimes, and especially just we've been talking about this a lot within the walls of Builder Funnel, is information flow and having to go like find information or having it pushed to you. And I like this because you can say, I on a regular cadence want this news, that data, whatever, just push it to me and it's all in one place. And that, at least allows you to not having to just go like hunt down the things that you would be like, I'd normally just go hunt all this down. I'd rather have it just pushed to me in one spot, and it makes it super easy.
1,000%. Super great. If you have the Pro, they do something called Pulse, which I won't go over, but it's essentially Pulse is the same thing. It's just even more automated with more stories. It's almost like your own blogs, which is very interesting. That's a newer feature for Pro only though. So we looked at the settings. We've looked at like how you can like almost use AI as an operating system with searching with it, like searching the web with it, but also like doing tasks with it. So let's talk about actually organizing all of that work and how you do it. So if you look here, you'll see that every client that comes in, every blueprint that I make, I have a different project for all of them. And so this is where all my chats go. This is where any questions I have, all of that, even for our own builder funnel marketing one. I'm pretty sure I have one for our AI marketing podcast here to help me think of topics. So easiest way to do this is just go to projects here. And if you click on new project, you do have to have the $20 a month subscription. But you can make a project here, and we could just say example project. You can even add a little emoji here. We'll make it pink, and we'll make it a money sign. And this is probably one of the most hidden features in ChatGPT, Spencer. But if you click on this little gear here, you'll want to toggle on project only memory. And so a really good example of this is when we talked about memory in the settings. If I'm working on if I'm working on ABC builders and I'm working on I'm trying to learn more about their goals and their objectives and their pain points, I don't want any of that mixing together with builder funnel marketing stuff or Z to Y builders stuff. So the easiest way of projects is to keep it on project only memory unless you know that you want to reference other things. Like for our AI marketing podcast project, I don't mind if that references other, chats because it might find some cool themes that I've been working on or some prompts that I've been testing or some other projects that I've been doing. But it's pretty much that simple.
That's really good feature to know, because task dependent, project dependent, you'd either really want that on there or you don't care.
Exactly. Yeah. And then it's pretty much like your normal ChatGPT, except it's all in your project here. Something extra that you can do as well is you can add files to the project itself. So I'm realizing, Spencer, as we're testing our first video episode here and going through ChatGPT, you could probably do 5 episodes on ChatGPT itself. So if you're listening to this and you're like, this is very overwhelming, we will definitely be breaking this out. But think of this like an overview as your introduction. But you can add different files to your projects here. And so with your normal chats, so I'm going to navigate back to our normal chat here. You can add files to your normal chat. But now, if we have it in a project, we can add files to our normal chat as well as to our overall project files. So you would think, for example, for me, if I'm working on a client, I would put some of their overall goals, objectives, overall notes. And then let's say I was working specifically on the strategy plan. I would put in my specific like chat file some strategy notes plans that I had, or some strategy notes that I had, or anything related to strategy plan specifically that I may not want to reference in every chat in the project, but I do want to reference it in this chat. So you start to see, Spencer, like how you could start combining these and you start using project knowledge with chat knowledge mixed with your overall account knowledge. That's where you start stacking all of the memory and it just starts to know you very, very well, almost scary well.
Yeah, but it does become a nice advantage when you do get it to that point. And so that's why I think like where you started the podcast today. It's just like, just start today and start building out a lot of this. Cause even if you don't have a clear direction on it, if you are creating some projects, you're adding some files, some docs, like you're personalizing it, feeding it information, 3 months down the road, when you prompt it with something, it'll reference a lot of that and it will give you a much better, output. And so, yeah, I think it's really powerful, but you do have to kind of keep feeding it with all of that context and background.
For sure. Really quick, I just wanted to show an example chat here just so you could see how it works. So when you put in a chat, it all gets into a line here. So instead of having to scroll through all of these on the sidebar, I now just have all of my chats specific to my project here in the projects folder. Just think of projects like folders. That's all they are. I think that's the most important way and I think easiest way to organize your work. There's another way here, and I wouldn't think of this like organizing, but think about like repeatable tasks. And that's where you start getting into custom GPTs. And so people have called them agents, they've called them multiple things, but essentially think of this as a very specialized role. So you could have a writing assistant, a research assistant, and a designer assistant. Think of all those different assistants with very niche skills and they're very specifically good at 1 to 2 things. That's what custom GPTs are. You can create your own, but I suggest just trying out one of the ones from the store to start. And everything is free on the store, to my knowledge. I think they tried charging for them and they kind of abandoned it. But you can look and you could say, like, is there anything related to like remodeling on here? Oh yeah, like this is really cool. Like there's home remodel GPT, like home remodeling assistant offering creative ideas based on images. These are more for like the prospect than you, but tons of things here to help. We could look at like marketing, and we could see all the different assistants or GPTs that people made that I can ask questions to that are very specific and tailored to marketing or whatever I want it to be. So I would start off with just this, and all you do with these is, let's say we wanted to use one of these marketing ones. All you do is click on it and click start a chat. You don't have to download anything, you don't have to install anything, they're just ready to go. And now I know I could just type in a question. It even gives you some like even examples that you could start, which is great. Do you utilize custom GPTs that much, Spencer? Or are you more of like usually how it goes is you're more of like a projects and context person, or you're more of like a custom GPTs person? Do you feel like you lean one way or the other?
I honestly feel like I don't use either as much as I should, but the custom GPTs, that's something that I've definitely utilized and continue to with content. And so I'll like say, hey, if I'm outlining a script or writing a script or coming up with ideas or whatever it is, I've used a custom GPT for that. So I can kind of feed it like the general direction for like, I want my output to come out like this, because I find if you're just in a normal chat, you might, prompt for some ideas or some outlines or some scripts or whatever, and from week to week it might like look a little different or sound a little different or whatever it is. And so the custom GPT has been good for that, where I want like the output of it to look the same. More consistency, I guess.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, and I'd say like I lean. I don't think I use custom GPTs as much as I should. I use projects a ton, but
Well, yeah, after watching you just pull up a couple of the little projects, I'm like, I need to use projects more than I do.
I use project. I mean, as you can see, yeah, I use projects a ton for pretty much everything.
Yeah, it
Just
makes
to help keep me
sense.
organized.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, I'm excited to use projects more.
Sure. If you are interested in making your own custom GPT, or you're just curious like how it works before you want to download others, if you go to your GPT section and click create, it's pretty simple. You could even toggle on their create tab and you could just ask ChatGPT to create it for you, which is even easier. But you just name your GPT here, you say what it does, some instructions. You can upload even more files here as well. So you could say, hey, like every time I ask you for social copy, follow, the rules in these files here. And here's all my brand guidelines. And all of this. You can even do like custom actions and stuff with like webhooks. It's pretty. I haven't messed with any of that. It's pretty insane. I know a lot of people on our team use custom GPTs, and they kill it. So either way, projects, custom GPTs, great. My tip is to use both. And so if we go to our example project, create a custom GPT, and if you go to your models here and you go to auto, you go in your project and click at, and you see here we made a remodeler and builder marketing GPT, which its goal is essentially it knows the ins and outs of the remodeling builder like marketing best practices. It knows our best practices. It knows what's going on in the industry, and we can ask it specific advice. That's a little more tailored than if I were just to ask ChatGPT marketing advice in general. But I can use my GPT in my projects, which a lot of people don't know about. And so this is a really good tool to where, let's say like you have different project files for every prospect that you're working on. You can now have a custom GPT that is specific that helps you draft emails in like your language, or helps you draft out certain like anything that you need really. But let's keep it emails to keep it simple. It helps you draft emails for prospects. So you can use that one that's trained on like your best practices for your emails, but then you drop it into your project, which has all the context of all of the prospects that you're working on. And then you see there when we're talking about how it starts combining, Spencer. Now you have chat level context, project level context, account level context, as well as custom GPT level context, which starts getting pretty crazy. But that's how you get crazy good results very quickly with ChatGPT.
Yeah, yeah, that's super interesting. Yeah, like the nice thing about I think the projects and the custom GPTs is just being able to store files or docs or memory kind of within that context of whatever the larger project is. I feel like that just that feature alone, like you said, stacking them, you can get even more, but to me, the like big leap from 0 to like 3 is just being able to upload docs and information and files that just stay with all of those chats into the future. So like you said at the beginning, you don't have to keep reprompting all the context and all of that.
Yeah, 1000%. Again, we could have a whole episode on each of these, which I'm really excited about now that we're doing more videos, walkthroughs. 'Cause I think these are gonna land way more with you being able to follow along. That's just a taste of like what you can do with like your organization, ChatGPT, as well as just 10xing your work. I think the issue, Spencer, that like a lot of people have with ChatGPT is they don't go through all of those steps. And so when you just go into ChatGPT and you say, "Hey, help me write an email for this or write social copy for this," you don't really get the results that you want, and you don't really feel like typing up a paragraph of instructions. So when you put in the time though to make projects, to fill out your account information, as well as explore some custom GPTs, that's where you're going to start getting like the results that you want in a couple prompts versus going back and forth with it, getting frustrated, maybe just ditching it altogether.
You know, Kai, I can't get away from this thought. The more and more we talk about this and go through it and dive a little deeper, the more I feel like this process, it's almost like hiring someone on day one and then training them, because when you hire someone on day one, they don't know anything about your company. They don't know anything about their role, all the tasks they need to do and all that. And so yeah, it takes a little more work, like you said, to give it like a paragraph of context and then the task. But if you just give it the task, the output comes back and you're like, it wasn't quite there. Now you have to reprompt it, refeed it content. It's like just do it all up front the first time, and the likelihood of getting that output out that you want is much higher the first go around. And then same with all this memory stuff we've been talking about. It's like, hey, if I have reference points, docs, PDFs, files, Google Docs, sheets, information about my company, about our sales process, about our brand, like feeding that in is basically you uploading some things is kind of like the training. And so instead of like training an employee for an hour and walking them through the whole meeting, you can basically just like upload a PDF with all the same information. So yeah, I don't know, I'm just seeing that parallel a lot more clearly now. It feels like a lot of just training.
Yeah, and when we did the AI cohort, like one of the examples I gave was like treat AI like your intern. Like it's
Yes.
very eager to follow directions and they know a lot and they're smart, but you have to teach them. You have to teach them about your voice, your business. They may not know anything about marketing, but they're very eager to follow instructions and help. And that's pretty much with AI. And so what you put in is what you get out. So if you just ask it to write an email for this person, you screenshot it, you don't give it any context, the email's not going to be the best. It's going to be pretty generic. But if you fill out more about like how you like to write emails, how you format them, if you give more information about who you're emailing with and why, you give some like example emails that you've had before, that's where you do some of that upfront work, but over time you're going to save so much time because now it's just like write me this email and knows exactly what to do, exactly the format on how to do it, and it has the information it needs to better get to a point that you like it.
Yeah, I love it.
Awesome. Last one we're going to do here, and then we'll wrap, is going to be image generation, which is I think by far like the most fun people have had with AI. And so speaking like specifically, it's like remodelers and builders here. We've talked about in a couple episodes. We don't want to generate fake projects. We don't want to generate fake videos or anything like that, or anything that feels like you're trying to pass it off as real. So I think one of the best examples that I can give is for like text-based graphics or something that you can almost make in like Canva. They have a Canva integration in here, so maybe in our integrations episode, Spencer, we'll test that out where ChatGPT builds it in Canva for you, which is pretty sweet.
I'm excited for when we do that one. Yes.
But just to get started with the normal one, what I would do is I would just go. You can even go to Auto here on your models. You'll go to Create Image, and then you could just say, "Hey, I'm Kai Builders, and I'm running a kitchen remodel meta campaign. I need a graphic that is thumb stopping and eye catching. Our offer is a free design consultation. Keep the graphic scannable and easy to read. My colors are orange and blue. Go Bears. Let's go."
Broncos. I mean, what?
Hey, I guess it works for both of us. So,
Yeah. My
but
buddy, my buddy's a Bears fan too, and we're like, man, we might have to, if they both make it, we might have to just go for it and go to the Super Bowl. But the odds of
that'd be
that, I think, at this point, are probably still pretty low that they both make it there.
it'd be pretty fun though. It'd be pretty fun.
It'd be
So
wild.
you see here, you can see it building its image here, and you can also make multiple images while you can generate multiple at a time, which is great. We're just gonna generate this one here. Here what you would want to do is give it a logo, probably give it some previous assets that you've done before. When we dive into like our image generation episode,
Look at that
we will
thing.
show all that. But I mean, this is off of like what is this, like 2 minutes? I mean, this is pretty nuts. This is
How
pretty
long
cool.
would that have taken somebody to design? Man,
That's pretty crazy. So Kai Builders here,
that's not
custom
bad.
3D design.
It's a little like not cartoony, but it's just a little loud, but
Yeah.
like it looks professional, sharp.
You can also edit the image. It looks like with like Adobe Express. I don't have Adobe products. Like I don't know if that means I can actually like move all of these elements and all of that.
But probably
But
with the Canva one, you can,
you
so.
could. But you could do some light editing here. So I could say, like like it should understand what I'm going for here. I'm gonna say change the background to solid blue. It's too noisy. And we'll see how it does. I will say this is probably the weakest part of the image generation. It does good with the first image generation, usually does not do too hot with the edits, but apparently it's gotten better. But you see here, I mean, from 2 minutes, this is great. I didn't give it my logo, I didn't give it my website or anything. I think this pops. Again, like you said, a little cartoony, almost reminds me of like those like made for TV ads like a
Yeah,
decade
yeah.
ago.
Mm-hmm.
But
But
it's
to
not bad.
to its credit, you asked for eye-catching, thumb-stopping. So maybe, and
Yeah.
there's a reason all of that like made for TV, like that stuff
Mm-hmm.
has to work. Otherwise, they don't do it. Because they
That's very
spend
true.
millions. So maybe for an ad, something like this would get some clicks.
And for somebody here that's just looking to get an ad up and going, I mean, you can sit out here for 30 minutes and have what 30 different variants. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
this is I think like that's where it gets fun. And I think if you're gonna leave with anything with this episode, I think it's just think about I should say this when I pew out. Now I gotta think of another one, unfortunately. Um AI is not perfect, but this is the worst it's ever gonna be. Right? And being able to make 30 variants in 30 minutes with graphics was not possible before. And maybe these aren't perfect, but we'll see. Here it did a pretty
Wow.
good job. It did a
Yeah,
pretty good job.
that's all blue.
It knew what I was talking about. It still made it kind of like a gradient almost, if you see that. I don't know if you see that on your screen, but this is great. I mean, that was a quick edit. You're not going back and forth
I'm
with a
actually pretty
designer.
impressed. That's maybe one of the better like first take outputs I've seen in a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is pretty nuts. So I'm excited. I think for our image generation episode, maybe we'll make it focused on like ads graphics or anything. I mean, you guys are getting a little peek behind the curtain here, but yeah, that's maybe we'll do that. That sounds really fun. But I think we're gonna cut our ChatGPT overview off here, and the reason being is I don't want to overwhelm you. We've walked through so many things here, but the goal is hopefully you've gotten some good ideas. You know where to start. You know what you kind of want to do, and you're more excited now to follow along for our smaller, when we're more focused on each of the ChatGPT features. Spencer, we're going to go into our PWOW. If there is one thing that anybody should walk away with after watching this episode, because that was a lot of information. So if there's one thing they need to remember, what would you say that is?
Yeah, and just to kind of reiterate what you said, like hopefully going through the overview of this was helpful and sparked some ideas, maybe a couple areas of ChatGPT you've never used before, or a different way to use ChatGPT that you've been using the chat, but you found out a little nuanced way you can upgrade it. I find that just going through this, I always learned like now I'm really excited to use projects more and storing project memory. That's actually my PWOW, my parting word of wisdom is to actually to start building out those projects. Seeing how you kind of were going through that, really it just clicked for me that like that is a huge long-term investment of like building projects for things that you're working on, especially like even if you just said, oh, this is the marketing area of my business. I'm going to create a ABC Builders marketing, and then I'm going to create a ABC Builders sales and a ABC Builders operations. And you can just start loading, who are the team members that you have in those departments? What are the decisions you're making? And then, yeah, anyway, I think, that alone just sparked like 100 ideas for me. So, yeah, that's my PWOW today is use projects to organize your thoughts and how you want to work with ChatGPT. How about you, Kai? What's your PWOW today?
Yeah, that's a great one. I think organization is so key. I would say just get started. And if you feel overwhelmed, embrace that and just start going. And maybe that's a basic PWOW, but the reason I say that is, I feel like Spencer does a great job of wrangling me in when I go off my AI tangents and all of this, and I talk about agents and all of that. But not even 2.5 years ago, maybe 3 years ago at this point, I only used ChatGPT to help with social copy for like 3 months straight. That's all I did with ChatGPT. I literally just went in, I said, help me make social copy, and I tweaked it. And that's all I did with ChatGPT for like 3 months. That's all I did with it. And eventually, like what happened was I was just like, well, can it help with this now? Or oh, this update looks cool. Let me try this. Or oh, cool, it can do images now. Like, can I do images for like my blog content? Like, no, those look bad. Okay, we won't do that until. But I know now like what I'm looking for in the updates. So I say that because I wasn't always like so deep into AI and all of this, and really 3 years ago is not that long ago. So that should show you how much can change, and it can also show you that you don't need to have a super technical background or you need to be using these tools 24/7 to get to a point where you're comfortable with them and using them to I don't want to say its fullest potential because I'm not using to their fullest potential yet, but using them, daily as a power user. So just get started, and whatever that is for however long it is, when you start using it and flexing those muscles a bit, you're naturally going to want to test out different use cases, and other use cases will naturally pop.
Yeah, I think it is good advice because, like with most things, you blink and a year's gone anyway. And so you might as well, get started, just get practice, get the reps in, and then a year goes by and you'll be using it for more. You'll have more experience. You'll have figured out how it actually helps you. And it really will. It can save you tons of time. It can get you better outputs, higher quality outputs. So I think it's still sound advice as the technology is still emerging and evolving really quickly. It is important to get started and keep using it.
1,000%. Well, everybody, that has been this episode of AI Marketing for Remodelers and Builders. We are so excited for 2026. We have so many episode ideas going through all of these. We're excited to use video more and do video walkthroughs. And you guys know I love emails, so make sure you send me your feedback, your episode requests. Just send me a random email, questions. I will take them all. Who is asking for more emails nowadays? It is me. My Outlook is dry, Spencer. I need some human connection in there.
We could trade inboxes if you want.
Let's baby steps for me. Baby steps here,
steps,
okay?
yeah. Just AI podcast emails for Kai.
That's it for now, all right? If you have something funny, cool, like you can send that too. But if you don't know my email, it's KB as in boy, IAMI at builderfunnel.com. Again, KBIAMI at builderfunnel.com. Happy New Year. We are so excited to keep this podcast growing in 2026, and we will see y'all in the next episode.